the 61-page ruling dated January 15, 2025, in the collusion case that the NFL won, but the NFL lost. Because the NFL was caught with its hand at the bottom of the cookie jar as it relates to collusion. I'm not sure how the NFL managed to win. I've got some theories, and I'll discuss them over the course of the next half hour or so as I continue the discussion that Pablo and I had on the latest episode of Pablo Torre Finds Out. And I encourage you to watch all of that. This is just extra stuff, and this is just me sort of stream of consciousness, but also with some loose understanding of what it is I plan to get to. And it really is astounding that both the union and the league were able to keep the ruling under wraps for more than 5 months. It's unbelievable. A 61-page ruling that was the capper to months of litigation that occurred within the confines of the collective bargaining agreement. Collusion claims are resolved by a system arbitrator. Christopher Droney is the arbitrator who ultimately put his name at the bottom of that 61-page ruling. Both sides were able to stick it in the vault and leave it there. Unbelievable. And even though I will give Pablo full credit for being the one to get it, I guarantee you he wouldn't have even tried if I hadn't been banging the drum. And I got to give credit to Michael Hawley because it was something that he said during a recent episode of PFTPM that reminded me this thing was still out there. And that caused me to say, I'm going to get back to that. Now that things are kind of slowing down. See, the NFL benefits from an endless stream of bright, shiny objects in there. There's always something else to distract us. Something big happens on a Monday night game, some controversy. You got a couple of days to digest it because here comes Thursday night. Something big happens Thursday night. You got a couple of days to digest that. Here comes Sunday. Bright, shiny object, bright, shiny object. In the offseason, there's always some new development that fills the void because every story reaches the point where there's nothing else to say. So what do we do as media companies, as reporters? What do? We go to the topics on which there's stuff to say. And if both sides, as they were, had a full and complete commitment to not disclose the ruling, there's only so much to say. And I thought I'd said all I was going to say. Tried every way possible to get the document, both through making the simple request, through shaming people into believing that it needed to be publicized, appealing to vanity, ego, pride, everything. Pablo got it done, and I give him credit. And I'm just happy to have it. I remember when I got it a week or so ago. I think it was last Monday. And I was sworn to secrecy, and that was a hard secret to keep. That was a full and complete test of my ability to honor all vows of confidentiality, because here's how the world works. And I've got at least one person I've known for years who is mad at me because I didn't tell him that I had it. Because this is somebody that I've been talking to about it and trying to figure out, well, what does it really say? And why are they really hiding it? And how do I really get it? He's mad that I didn't tell him I had it. And I said, look, I'm sorry. I was sworn to secrecy. But here's how the world works, usually. And this is why when you really try to keep a secret, you're pushing against human nature. Human nature goes like this. Every secret that we are told and that we say we won't tell anyone, you know what we do as humans? We tell one person. We have to. We can't help ourselves. We need to let someone know that we know. We just have to. It overcomes us. And I was tempted. Oh, I was tempted. Oh, it was a long 8 days, but I didn't. I did not. And yeah, now I got to deal with, why didn't you tell me? Jerk. Well, I'm a jerk for many reasons. You can't call me a jerk for honoring my vow of silence on this topic until it came out. So it came out today. And yes, the NFL won, but again, I don't think the NFL should have won. I understand why the NFL won. Let me try to put this in the simplest possible terms. And this is why a jury is always the best way to prove a case, because collectively a jury is far more likely to call bullcrap on witnesses than, say, an individual like a judge or an arbitrator who is jointly selected, jointly paid, and relying on both sides in a labor relationship wanting to keep the arbitrator in place. Let me just get that out of the way. Christopher Droney, appointed by the union and the league. Either side can say at any time, we want to get a new system arbitrator when this person's term is up. So there's a political element to it. And there's a certain aspect of which side really wants this one more. Who's going to be more pissed if I go this way or that way? And I think it creates an atmosphere where when you've got 8 of the league's 32 owners testifying, and the message from the owners is, we didn't collude, you're going to call BS on 25% of the league's owners? You better be ready to get the letter informing you that the NFL is exercising its right to hire a new system arbitrator. How could the NFL not do that? If they believe that the arbitrator they jointly hired is of the opinion that 25% of the league's owners are not being truthful about whether or not the directive, the encouragement to follow the advice to collude, if you're not going to accept that, if you're going to pierce behind that, that's not an arbitrator that the NFL wants. So here's the best metaphor I can come up with. The NFL was caught with his hand at the bottom of the cookie jar, with crumbs all over its shirt. But because the arbitrator didn't witness the league eating the cookies, the arbitrator accepted the league's position that there was no consumption of cookies. That's the best way to put it, because here's how it went down. And it all goes back to Deshaun Watson's contract. 5 years, fully guaranteed, $230 million, mid-March of 2022. Days after that, the owners gathered Palm Beach, same place they were March of this year, for the annual meeting. And in advance of the annual meeting, Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, and Jeff Pash, the now former general counsel, had communications about this trend of guarantees going up. And here's why the NFL had reason to push back. The NFL had managed through 2 separate CBA negotiations to get the union to yield on its effort to get fully guaranteed contracts for all players. So if this is an issue that's going to continuously come up in collective bargaining, you don't want to lose that high ground that you've achieved on the issue of fully guaranteed contracts, because the teams decide they're going to start giving out fully guaranteed contracts. Like, we're over here fighting for our collective ability to not fully guaranteed contracts, and you guys are just giving it away. That's why, and I think Peter King and others reported this at the time, the Haslams, who own the Browns, got the cold shoulder. They did something that broke from the code, the norm, the way things are done. So they had to get things back under control. Emails cited in the 61-page ruling between Pash and Goodell set the issue up. Things said, and I'll defer to the 61-page ruling. Pablo has linked to it. And to the extent that I have any factual inaccuracies during the course of today, I'm going to defer to the contents of the ruling. But I remember most of the key stuff the way it needs to be remembered. And I definitely remember this, the bottom line. The arbitrator found, and I think he had no choice, that there was strong evidence that the league encouraged the teams to collude. Now, look, I've been doing this a long time, and I've always had the impression from the people I talk to around the league that when the management council says something, they expect you to do it. And the buzzword, the slogan, the pull string saying for league and team officials in the context of this case was, well, we make our own decisions. These are just suggestions from the management council. We decide on our own what we're going to do. And that disclaimer is what allowed Droney to somehow thread this needle, which I think common sense and logic does not support, that management council said restrict guarantees in your contracts, and the teams just refused to accept it, or didn't hear it, or didn't pay attention, or this owner wasn't there, or that. There were representatives of every team there. The management council was putting out the word to the league at large. In the aftermath of the Deshaun Watson contract, we got to get these guarantees under control. And nobody did anything about it. The body that is in place, look, my opinion is the very existence of the management council is evidence of collusion. You got 32 different businesses. Why does there need to be any group that is trying to herd the 32 cats? Let them go compete. And this came up during the podcast with Pablo. It's nonsensical to think that they'll say we're in competition. Why would we help each other? But they're all operating under the umbrella of the management council that's telling them how to do things. Why do you need to be told how to do things? All you need is the CBA. The CBA tells you what the rules are. You do what's in the CBA. And if you do something that becomes problematic for other teams, oh, well, that's their problem, not mine. Oh, I gave my quarterback a fully guaranteed contract, and now another owner is dealing with an agent from the same firm who wants a fully guaranteed contract for the client who plays for the other team. Tough shit. That's your problem. I do my business my way. You do your business your way. And there are quotes in this ruling, and we shared some of them in Pablo's podcast, where like John Mara says, well, I would never expect the Cowboys to listen to, well, but then why are you in charge of the management council? Why are you even trying to thread these needles and bring these teams together and get them to do things a certain way? I'm convinced, and I believe, I haven't practiced in how many years now? 16. Haven't spoken to a jury in 18 years. I guarantee you that I could make a persuasive case to a jury. Now, ultimately, whether or not the jury would listen to me depends upon the unique makeup of the jury. I can make a compelling case based upon the evidence that is in that document, that even though they deny it, they colluded. They restricted the guarantees. But Christopher Droney values his position. Christopher Droney, in my opinion, Christopher Droney was influenced by two things. One, can't call the owners a bunch of liars. Two, I think he realized the league wanted it more than the union, because I think the union under Lloyd Howell was far less concerned about winning this case than the union under D. Smith. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.